I'm Yasmin Sabri. I'm associate professor at the Faculty of Engineering, Zagazig University. It's an Eastern university from Egyptian part. I do work as a consultant for conservation of historic buildings and museums since many years. I even started my career as a professional historic conservator, practicing the profession as an architect. Then I joined teaching at university after my PhD at 2011. And now I am head of architecture department at my university, and I'm a visitor lecturer at French University, Cairo University, and British University.
Okay, that's quite well. So, Assalamu alaikum and good evening, everybody. I'm Fizza, and today we're gonna have the second interview of the Enlightening series. And Miss Yasmin Sabri is with us. She is an architect, and currently she's head of department of an architectural engineering department in Zagzag University. So, thank you so much, Miss Yasmin, to join us all the way from Egypt and being a guest over here to uh, to enable yourself to give an interviews over here and making it easy for us and for the viewers of Pakistan. Thank you so much.
Welcome. I'm sorry, but I have some problems on the audio. I can't get all your words correct. It has some, echo.
Okay, so I think I should just, is this a bit, is everybody having that problem?
No.
I might, okay, I will speak a bit slow so that words will be clear to you, and we will, if you won't get what I'm saying, you can ask me again. Okay?
Okay, great.
So starting off from the questions, being an architect, if I would ask you that, how do you compare styles and methods, the way architecture is being done in different parts of the world? Like in different parts, how are you going to narrate that? What are the styles and methods currently being done?
Actually, it's quite a good question, but according to every culture, it has a different uniqueness. So sometimes you can't compare styles. If you are doing that for scientific purpose, you have to find something like variables or indicators can be used to compare. But what is the purpose for comparison? Has to be asked first. If you will, for example, see the Egyptian style of the, Egyptian, ancient Egyptian, while you are comparing this with Greco-Roman style, it will be quite strange comparison in terms of size, in terms of material. So anyone want to try to compare, first he has to ask the question, why we are comparing from the beginning. Many styles can have some certain indicators, can be, as a start of any comparison between a style and another. But what is most correct to understand every style and its impact on the culture itself. So at that time, I think you can find yourself having more data. To come back to the comparison issue, there is certain indicators, as I have just told already. You can address material, you can address size, you can address orientation. Every philosophy lie some concepts behind. So when you find the pyramid, it's already a tomb, as all we know. This is oriented to the west. Why? Because it has the concept of the sunset, and this is, or of course, means death on Egyptian civilization. So it has to be oriented on that way. On the Greco-Roman temples, you can find a different orientation. They start environmental. You need a current of air. So it has a different issue. the most important issue, you have to pick indicators so it can be correct. Not to compare, like you are comparing a huge building with a villa. So what is here the phases of comparison? It can be size, it can be use. You will just compare with material. So this is, you have to ask yourself first the reason for comparison so you can make that issue. If you are doing that on terms of following the chronological order of civilization, so you can pick some items like material, like philosophy behind, like construction system. So this can be addressed simplicity. It has many issue, and mostly we are going to the basic element of design, which is like rhythm, like repetition, like symmetrical. We have already some basic order like this.
So, do you think as everything is proceeding, there's a lot of technology, and along with the progress all over the world, what do you think at what pace architecture and as the whole architecture is evolving? Like, are we out of that Greek or Roman? Are we just again and again implementing that, or is there's a lot of great evolutions being done all over the world? If I ask you at what pace architecture is actually evolving?
Actually, architecture, it has a curve, goes up and down with civilization. The all has the theory of action and reaction. So you always find yourself coming to modernism. Everyone want to be modern with this glass big facades. And after a while, you can find yourself find the opposite direction. Some people asking to come back for the identity, and they need to have more culture inside their architecture. So the postmodernism has appeared. After postmodernism, you will find the deconstruction started to be more spread. So always you have the two schools. It will never be a certain direction.
Yeah.
So you can find yourself with the architecture which respects the identity. At the same time, you will find always a reaction with international style, which makes some product can be implemented all over the world without a certain style. So it will be forever like this.
So, as there are a lot of factors on which architecture is based, like it could be climate, it is social atmosphere, everything. What do you think? At which extent does the culture affects the execution of architecture, culture of any place, and how is
Look,
it
if
being translated into architecture? Like, how does architecture can tell the culture of a specific place?
look, when the country has already culture, it will get near to the identity more and will use the culture theme. But if the country already don't have that base, it will go to the modern direction, and it will find the international style the most style suitable for. If you want to know if there is a way that the culture will be the major player on the architectural formulation, you can review the Unified Theory. This is a book issued on 2013. It talk about regional architecture, that every region on the world, it has to be its unique architecture according to the culture. This message already is raised by the early concept by Christopher Alexander. He is a very good architect and a theorist of architecture. All over the world, he is the writer of a pattern language and nature of order and many timeless way of architecture and many other books. His students was a mathematical professor he called Nikos Salingeros. He started to raise a concept called the Unified Theory, which is a theory of designing based on the culture aspect of every place. So he already addressed main players, like main indicators, this is what you have to follow if you want to make your regional product of architecture with respect to your culture. So yes, if you are a country with a history, I think you will go to respect your culture more most of the time, because this is not an obligation. Yani even here in Egypt, you can find all the schools of architecture all over. You can find the modernism and postmodernism and the classical style and the Egyptian style.
So, okay, now coming up to installing aesthetics in architecture. So, if we just look into it, do you think there are different aesthetically standards every country is setting in their architecture, or is aesthetic sense of architecture all over the world is built on the same levels or on the same standards? Like, I mean, do you think aesthetics are greatly dependent on where they are being built, in which architecture, and where the architecture is?
But what you mean about static first?
Aesthetics, that the architecture should not be just
Aesthetics, you mean?
Yeah, aesthetics.
Aesthetics. Okay, of course, the aesthetics is coming from your indicators which you do measure architecture with. So my aesthetics can be different than yours. If you are someone who likes the styles, so you can value whatever is using, for example, Doric columns or Corinthian columns. This can be the aesthetics value of you. Another one can value the simplicity. So if they found themselves already with very transparent facades and like the concept of Le Corbusier, that greens all over and the nature extended inside and outside your house, so you will feel your building is light. So this is a kind of integration with nature. So this is aesthetics. If you want to know how the aesthetics issue started from the beginning, has started from philosophy. Everyone value beauty in other direction. Fee is, of course, it's you have your preference, as I have just said, but it's coming from the values of beauty, which is proportion, which is scale, which is already many concepts can be used for defining how you can value anything as a beautiful thing. So yes, we have aesthetics, but it is different between a style and other. And when it comes to modernism, it's difficult to define a certain aesthetics to measure something with. But yes, it is coming from the philosophy of Eugenie, or philosophy of beauty, which is already part of psychology and philosophical humanities studies.
Okay, so as I was just going through your expertise, I came to know you're not only an architect, you've also worked in heritage fields, and you're also having a great knowledge about the conservation of heritage. So when working, can we just shift on a bit to the heritage stuff question? So when working in a heritage field, how do you make it possible to interpret the narrative of the building which was built in past years?
To interpret what? I'm sorry?
The narrative or the purpose of the building which was built in past years, how do you just redefine that purpose while doing the conservation?
Actually, the interpretation of heritage, it's not so familiar concept on every place. It should be, of course, presented to different category of people. But what we are doing now is just reviewing all the material. It was designing from the beginning as, all with the hypothesis that all the audience have the same level of knowledge, which is not correct. But the idea is that when you have a child and you have an architect and you have a doctor and you have a professor and then you have a local one, an international one, all of them should be studied not to find the same information, because everyone has a certain different level of knowledge. So when you design your interpretation for kids, should be on their level so they can perceive information. This is only happened very professionally on one World Heritage Site on Egypt called Well Valley. And it's not on the same level on other World Heritage. And we found in Zagazig University, you found yourself that it's a little bit, we have a concern about this knowledge. It's not exist with certain students. So we made a master level. It was a thesis already finished 2 or 3 years about the interpretation of heritage building and sites, differentiate between the different packages of visitors, and again, it's to address many tools. You can just depend on signage or on material you read when you go to site. No, you have to find interactive ways to interpret the heritage. All those studies is not activated or it's not applied in everywhere, but it started on museums, because we have two kinds, as you know, of heritage. Heritage like a building and heritage collection like a museum collection.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can find now many audio video guide on site museums, and you found yourself experiencing augmented reality and virtual reality inside the museum. But on the heritage side, it's still not spreading like it has been done on museums. So I think it's a matter of time. We do know what to do and we do know how to do it, but it's a matter of funding and of time to convince all the stakeholders that this is a very, very important point to be done.
Okay, like, so what are the standards on which a heritage worker or anybody working in on a heritage site decides that these parts of the building or the thing or an architecture you are conserving should be preserved as it is, and these could be the parts which we should renovate into exactly the modern manners? So how come you decide this, and then how is that, are you all able to justify that this is a better conservation, that we're not just renovating the whole of it, but still the remains and the previous or architectural factors are still over there?
Actually, we have, as you know, it's World Heritage is having some regulation, and local heritage has another regulation, and the heritage all over the world has a regulation. Let me describe it one by one. World Heritage, it has the World Heritage Convention, 1972. This is our standard, which we do follow with some condition we have to be aware of and try to implement it with respect to the uniqueness of different sites. So if you are dealing with a monument like, you know, as I'm telling you, a very little house of Islamic architecture, completely different than you applicate this on the pyramid. So completely, you can find yourself designing different approach, especially that, for example, Islamic Cairo, it has people, it is a livable heritage site. So you are dealing with community. So you have to deal with them on a different way than you having a monument on desert like them. It's completely different approach. This is for if the monument is registered internationally as a World Heritage, and we have some sites already in Egypt on that issue. Another level is the local level, which is under our Egyptian law of conserving and protecting the antiquities. And this is very strict law. And if you damage any monument or you make anything not correct or even improper conservation, you can go to jail for this. And this is a very restricted one. If we are dealing, this is conceptually on conservation, you should be addressed that UNESCO, it has established a consultant called ICOMOS. This is a big, conservation consultant, a huge organization. and it's already made something like called charters. Those charters already like laws, but it's not by force. And they can't punish us not to follow their charters. But if we are member of UNESCO or we have signed the convention, so we have to follow from those. This is essence 19. I know many charters followed that dates after, and this is what we need as a basic to any conservator or conservation architect has to be aware of those to when we on reality. After all this knowledge, heritage can surprise you with many issues not in your creation, so you have to study it while it happened. Another aspect, of course, science. When you make heritage building can be like a sick people. So you have to make your tests, you have to make your standard, make an modeling load is distributed and what is the problem. Make a survey to element like minarets, it's still stable. So it's a combination, and it's coming with experience and whenever, what is the rule in our work? The minimum intervention. The approach of conservation, if you keep it on the minimum level, that means you have succeeded. If you enter the monuments and you can feel that someone touched it and make a renovation or something, this is completely not correct approach to deal with. So this is, I hope, answer your question.
Yeah, and how come the conserved heritage could be made attractive to the tourists?
Look, the conservation rule not to be attractive. It has to be conserved to keep the history be told on the way it was designed for. The tourist will have already a very big knowledge if the tourism of sightseeing is the purpose of a tourist, he will find it attractive in its way. So if we have put, like attraction standard for the people, it will be like you have all the girls has the same shape and has the same makeup and have everything in common together. So you will find just copies from each other. But what is the reality? You are having everything with its uniqueness. So he will come to see the botany of age. He will come to see the historic layers, the way it was as before, and he will value this. So we shouldn't make the monument attractive to tourists. No, they can come to see it on its original state, but you have to think about activities can attract tourists to enter the monument if he is not from the audience of the sightseeing tourism. Because at some time, I have attended, for example, on one big palace here in Egypt, an event. It was like, fashion event. So if we will be measuring the audience on the ordinary days who is coming to that palace, you will find 20 person per day. If you are making an event to attract another category of audience of fashion, for example, it was, thousands of people entering the palace. So this is how to be clever to attract the people with activity, not with the way of conservation for that issue.
So thank you so much. And being a head of department in an architectural field and teaching a lot from a lot much time in an architectural field, what do you think? How does an architectural school plays a role in building up a good architect, or what could be the very basic things an architectural school, being a school, should inbuild in each of their students?
In each of what?
Should inbuild in each of their students, like what specific basic things should an architecture school should inbuild in their students?
The most important issue to teach students of architecture how to think, not just to perceive information from the main subject. You know that most of the School of Architecture worldwide depend on teaching architectural design on many levels, working, drawing, and executive implementation and document of the contract as a main subjects for all the years, almost history of architecture, theory and of architecture, and some supported other like urban design and planning and so on. The most important issue, not just to give the knowledge for the school of architecture students on the easy way, you know, they should experience this themselves. They should be critical readers in architecture to differentiate between what they can do and what they can't do. So if you have developed the student to let him think, I think this is what we need to do. Not just to take information, go to exam, finish the exam, and forget whatever you studied. No, this is not the purpose, because thinking, and even if there is a very good quote about this issue, it tells that the student or whatever, any human, if he think, his brain will take a new dimension and it can't be, or it can't come back to the original dimension again. That means that his brain start to be wider and you can take this issue from him again. So this is what we need to do. Just try to think how you can develop yourself and defend your idea, because the most important that you keep, and this is keep repeating on this issue, everything and every student, he has a certain style and he has a uniqueness. So you should encourage as a School of Architecture his talent, not to make everyone make a similar or a typical design, so it will be everyone will be the same. So this is why we do already fix our even architectural design skills and exams on that way. Everyone, we do develop his work in his direction of thinking, not in our preference. Because if I will do my preference to all, 80 students approximately on every year, so we will have 80 Yasmin. We will not have 80 different architects. So this is what is the most important issue: to think, to create a thinker, not to create just an architect having some information and can't applicate it on the reality after.
Yeah, so moving on to the closing, what do you think, being an architect, how would you define this field? Like, if I would ask you to just sum it all in words, how would you say what it actually is?
Actually, I can define architecture as a lifestyle. It can't leave you as you are. If you get through the architectural studies, you will never come back to the point of beginning. It will develop your thinking, I think, till this. No one can just not impressed by environment, around them. You will find yourself thinking about architecture in your desk, in your writings, in your drawings, in your clothes, even after. And after a while, you will find yourself having a style different than everyone. And all the engineering school will deal with you like an artist. All the artists will deal with you like some mixed creature between engineering and arts. So you will find yourself always different. You can't be on the same, but it is the only field, I guess, it will change your life for, in terms of quality of life and lifestyle itself. It can't be on the same way. Even you can sense better than many people. You will find yourself, use all the tests you have. You can smell architecture. You will find yourself experience in depth more than anyone else. So I think it has affected thinking of mine. It has affected, way of even valuing place. We can have an entertainment and joy on something, maybe everyone can't feel it. You can be happy for seeing a good building around. You can find yourself study the color of the trees with the building, with the flowers, with the pavement. No one combining all those relations together. I think this is something very talented, which is, you know, not all our architectural world is a talent one. You can be a talent architect, or you can be a hard worker architect. But by the end, you know, it's not a matter just of talent. We even call it hard working beat talent if the talent doesn't work hard. So this is what make everyone better. If you don't have the track of the talent and don't respect that talent, a hard worker can reach a better position on architecture without having this talent, because he is committed to that. You know, he respected this issue. So I think that what added, and you will feel it with years. And this is something that's not coming with 1 year or 2 years of practice architecture. No, it will come every year. You will value architecture more than the year behind.
Yeah, that was a great advice for the students. Most of us are studying architecture, and presumably most of the viewers will also who will gonna watch this interview or also be an architecture or art student. So the end note was quite a big advice for the students or whoever is gonna watch this interview. And I want to ask my teammates if they're having any kind of questions.
Yes, Fiza, I have a question.
Yeah, carry on.
What inspires you as an architect?
You will not believe this. I wasn't planning to be an architect at all. We have a system of, you know, high school, we call it. I have many, or we have many group. We have group of literature, and we have a group of science, group of math, and group with science and math together. When I was young, I started to try what I want. I want to go into School of Medicine. So, and I wasn't sure. It was on that time, you know, nearing, like, you have to get degree on your high school, like 100%, which is, you know, huge number. It was 99 or something like this. So I thinking, I'm not sure what I will do, but let's take the group of math and science together, which it was the hardest one on education. It could be not I find myself into the School of Medicine, so I can join engineering. And then that's what happened. I entered the combined high school with science and math, and I studied all the science with chemistry and physics and biology, in addition to 6 branches of math. And then I joined School of Engineering. I didn't enter the School of Math, of Medicine, and I entered the School of Engineering. And I then, inside the engineering, when I reached that point, because I didn't get the 99, so I entered the School of Engineering. And for inspiration of my older brother, he was entering School of Architecture. So I liked what he was drawing all the time. He was I felt that he has fun while he is working. He liked what he is doing. So I wasn't have any preference inside the School of Engineering. So I followed his step and I entered architecture by consequence. But this is what this is what I want to tell you.
Do you think architecture is a science subject or art subject?
Actually, we have 2 schools actually here in Egypt. After, of course, I entered the School of Architecture, I started to thank God that I didn't enter the School of Medicine, because I find my passion inside architecture after all. And it appeared from the early years of architecture, because we have the School of Architecture here 5 years, by the way. It has 2 schools, even it's being taught on totally different schools. School of Fine Arts, Architecture Department, and School of Engineering, Architecture Department. Both of them completely, one respects the arts and value arts more and give you more artistic view. And I think England is like this. It has the two different issue. And another one is giving you the engineering side. So for my point of view, I think it lies in between. It has the artistic one and it has an engineering system. Because if you don't understand structure, if you don't understand all that scientific system, I think it will be hard to value architecture. We do have that kind of schools, both of them, but I'm still valuing for even, I will simplify it for the undergraduate. Yes, the artistic part of architecture is very important, but for the postgraduate of architecture and this level of master and PhD, it should be engineering, because by the end it has to be, come back to science, and it has to have a measurable indicators, so you can have a better conclusion about architecture and you can develop the design product itself.
We should conclude it, and thank you very much for taking out time for us and telling us and giving us information about the session and the architecture. It was very informative. Thank you.
You are welcome, and it was very nice to see you all. And in what year you are studying architecture?
We are in second year, third semester.
Okay, so it will. I think if we have repeated this after the final year of architecture, you will find yourself answering those questions yourself in a very unique way, I'm sure.
We hope so.
Yeah, it will pass. It will pass and you will enjoy it. This is the most important issue, to enjoy whatever you are doing, even if you didn't start it with passion. No, but it has to be, you have to find your passion inside architecture after all.
Thank you. So we want to end the meeting now.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay.